Welcome to the Cover 4 podcast. I'm Nolan Kangas. That's Luca, Moia, Jeff Wall, and Bradshaw. Furlong, guys, we've made it. We've made it to the end of this series. The top 50 players. It's taken us a little bit of time, but it actually has been an absolute blast. A pleasure, I might add. But let's do a quick recap. We started this list with Bradshaw's guy, Grady Jarrett, at 50. Woo! And there was some surprises as we went down the way. Alvin Kamara was at 41. Lamar Jackson, was up to 40. And Dalvin Cook, he wasn't the top running back, but he was the second top running back, 31. Zach Martin, I left him off the list, so he could have been higher. He was at 30. Derrick Henry, he was the top running back, up to 23. Stephon Diggs had a great year. He was 24. Justin Simmons, our top safety, 21. And then we had some of the familiar faces. Obviously, Jair Alexander, Jalen Ramsey took home the top corner, Bobby Wagner, the top linebacker. And it finished off, the last name we had of the last episode was 11. That was DeAndre Hopkins, who was, I believe, very, very high for Jeff. He had him as his fourth best player. Didn't get that high, but maybe we'll see another receiver that high as we go 10-1. Guys, there's not going to be much discussion on this. Obviously, we can just elaborate on how talented some of these players are because there wasn't, too much back and forth. It was a pretty chalk for most of the way of these players. But let's get started right away. 10 on this list. He has been a wrecking ball in the AFC North, TJ Watt. So, I think all of us were pretty consistent with Watt. Maybe one of us had him a little bit lower. I had him 11. Jeff had him 13. Bradshaw 9. Luca 14. So, pretty dang close.
How am I the biggest TJ Watt fan here? I think I'm
for real.
I always feel like I'm relatively low on TJ Watt, but apparently I'm not. Cool.
Yeah, I think with this being said, Bud Dupree's out the door in Pittsburgh. I think this is a big year where Watt can take that leap. Where even though Dupree is a fine player, he's not as good as Watt, but I think there's still help and there's interior pressure as well from Cam Hayward too. So I think being that clear-cut number one edge rusher will do wonders for TJ Watt and this defense because that's kind of the only bright spot this Pittsburgh Steelers team has. So I guess Bradshaw had him the highest. This is where it gets a little messy. We were talking last week. We said in the top 10, there's only a few names that kind of a little rough. So at number 9, we have a tight end, George Kittle. So George Kittle was number 9. You guys had him very, very high. Jeff had him 5. Bradshaw had him 5. Luca 15. I had him the lowest. I had him at 19. I don't know. Maybe that's
did George Kittle kick your dog or something?
No. No, he didn't do that. I just think it gets to this point where there's so many good players. Obviously, injuries last year kind of held him back. I still think he's probably the most complete tight end there is in football, blocking wise, catching the ball, yards after the catch. It's just there's another tight end who right now is on pace to be arguably the best tight end ever. Just the numbers he's putting up. And it was tough to balance that all out. But Jeff and Bradshaw, if you want to elaborate, George Kittle was your 5th best player. Jeff, why do you have Kittle that high? And I think you had him over Kelce, correct?
Yes, I did. Yeah. It's like what you said. I'm going to pivot off what you were saying. So yeah, I think he is the most well-rounded. Obviously his blocking is tremendous, whether it's the run or the pass, right? So in a lot of ways, he's kind of similar to Gronk in that regard, even though he's not as big. You wouldn't think he'd be as strong as he is, but he is. He's just such a dominant blocker. And with Shanahan's system, the way that he uses him, it becomes so much more valuable. The way he can just blow up a linebacker or a safety or some poor guy on the edge there. And like you said, the versatility, the balance that he has, I would say as a pure skills receiver, I think Kelce's the more nuanced, better receiver of the 2 tight ends. But I think also Kittle to me is just so much more explosive, just way more dynamic. I feel like if he catches the ball, whether it's his speed or his running ability, his strength and everything, his ability to stiff arm a guy or shrug off a tackle, he just gives me a little bit more than Kelce does. And also Kelce is getting a little bit older. Although Kelce is extremely durable, I don't think he's missed a game. I don't think he's missed a single start in his entire career. So it's not to knock Travis Kelce at all. And Travis Kelce, I would say, is maybe a slightly underrated blocker, but it's like you said, the well-roundedness is too much to ignore. And for me, when I look at tight ends, that's really what I like to see. I just like to see the versatility because that's what they generally speaking offer the most over any other player on the field.
That's fair. And obviously George Kittle had Jimmy Garoppolo and Nick Mullins, and Travis Kelce has the best quarterback in football. Throwing him the ball. Bradshaw is sort of in the same boat there as Jeff.
Yeah, like I think it's so comparable between the two as receivers that like the advantage that Kittle gives you blocking. I do agree with Jeff that Kelce's an underrated blocker, but Kittle is still so much better as a blocker than Kelce is that it gives him an advantage. For me, I mean, I had them very close, so it's a minimal edge, but I think it's an edge where I'm like, okay, like he gives you so much value at both receiver and as a blocker that it's hard for me to rank him anywhere other than like outside the top 10. I mean, I had him top 5, but I would have to have him top 10 just because of the value he brings you in two aspects of the game.
No, that makes complete sense. Let's move forward. I'm going to come right to Luca on this one. Number 8, it's your boy, Tom Brady. You had him as your second.
Oh my God. Get out of here.
Oh my God.
What I will say is
I'm sorry. I cannot believe I'm surprised at that. I actually can't believe I'm surprised.
Yeah, because you thought I'd have him 1, didn't you?
No, I didn't think you'd have him that high.
But what I will say is what is worse is either Luca having him at 2 and fine, I get Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, he's the GOAT, or is it Jeff having him at 21?
That's disrespectful.
Granted, okay, I'll before we go to the highs and lows here, I had him 11. I don't know, Nolan, where you had him.
I had him pretty high too, man. I actually had him 4.
Oh wow, Jesus. Wow. Okay, that's too
Sit
high.
Nolan.
I think I could have had him lower than 11. I think I probably could have put Russell Wilson ahead of him, to be honest with you. I probably should have had Russell Wilson ahead of him, to be honest with you. I probably would have had as my fourth quarterback.
It's locked in now, Brad. You can't change now. He's up
I
there.
just think it's a little bit recency bias for me too. Like we just saw what I know is a lot of the Bucs defense too, but
it was great. But yeah, I mean, I can't. I'm not going to argue that. Like, you know, I'm not going to be the one to argue against Tom Brady. He's the best quarterback of all time. But I don't know. I definitely don't see top 5. I would not have gone top 5. Nowhere close.
Thing is, I told you guys to do a lot on projection. Like, he just doesn't slow down. Like, unless he's out of the league, he's not slowing down. Honestly, it's just not happening. And I think we've all come to the – no, I think we've all realized, like, what – the only time he's slowing down is when he's out of the game. Mm-hmm. I just – you know, like, because what we've seen, like, the guy's 44. His team is still projected to win the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter how loaded your roster is. He's still the quarterback. It's still the most important position in the game. And so for me, you have Tom Brady on your team. You want him for 1 year. He's another year under this offense. Now there's training camp and now there's preseason. They have meshed well together and they won a freaking Super Bowl. So they have all of the tools to repeat and do it again. And it starts with Brady, I think, in his leadership and his we know how good he is. I mean, let's just be real. I know I'm the biggest Tom Brady fan, but you just can't argue, and none of you will argue that he is the greatest of all time, because if you do, we're going to have a discussion. But I think we can all agree that, you know, it starts with Brady, and he's a big reason why they're favorites.
I want to hear from noted Tom Brady hater, Jeff Wall.
Yes, the biggest Tom Brady. Ever since I got into the game, I just said, I don't like that guy. No. Yeah. But
you like Brady, Jeff. I think
no.
Brady loves Brady.
Yeah, you've defended me a couple times.
Brady's the reason why I started watching football.
I just like that Luca said you've defended me a couple times. Is it like I know what you mean, but also
yeah,
like, I know. You defended me and Tom together.
Me and Brady go way back. So you defended me up.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Like Luca, I think it's kind of the opposite of what Bradshaw said. I could have probably put him higher because when you do think about what he did, it was incredible. I feel like I was defending him a lot during this year as well, where I was like, man, like you got to give him a little bit of time. Like it's a very different thing that he was doing. I won't give him the off-season thing because they had probably the best the most complete offseason out of any team this year because of where they were located in Florida. But you know, I do think that they did have some depth on that team, but the fact is that he used that depth, right? And I do think he made his offensive line a little bit better than what it was. And I think he, you know, this is kind of a thing you can't really tell, but I do think he has kind of changed the outlook of that franchise and that team and all those players, right? Where I do think they seem like a very strong Super Bowl contender. I don't know if they'll get the 1 seed, but they should really be up there, man. They should be scaring other teams. And I think what he did last year shouldn't be underplayed. Just through the regular season, not just the playoffs. Like, he did a lot of great things this past season. And you know what, man? Gronk really heated up towards the end of last season. So, I mean, I'd be looking out for that too, for that combination to get even better.
Yeah, I think it's, a little bit of recency for me as well, but you got to think it's the greatest quarterback of all time. That was year 1 with that offense. Here comes, year 2. That was, Tristan Wirfs, who was fantastic year 1. Year 2 for him, right? And someone brought this up to me the other day. Regardless, Antonio Brown, piece of crap human. He was the news of the sports world for, it seemed like, a month. Goes to Tampa. I haven't really heard a peep. Just kind of playing football and ends up catching a touchdown in that Super Bowl. So I think, everybody's kind of bought in to what Tom is telling everybody, saying, here's how we're going to build a championship team. Guess what? They did it in year 1. And I think they could be even better, especially not to talk about preseason stuff, but Joe Tryon, who people were kind of like questionable, he kicked butt the other night. So now they have more weapons on defense. That Bucs team's going to be good. Moving on, this team, maybe not going to be so great due to injuries. And this guy actually being banged up as well, but he's a hell of a player and we all love him. And when we talked about guards, we just said, he's just in the caliber of his own. Quentin Nelson, number 7. Bradshaw's shaking his head. That doesn't, sound good. You're a little upset. You thought he should have been higher, Bradshaw?
I had him number 4. Absolutely. I thought he should have been higher.
And then let's blame it on the other guys, because I had him 6.
Oh, God. Come on, guys.
You had Jeff 10, Luca 11. So, Luca, why was he low on your list?
Listen, there are a lot of good players. I honestly, I had him really high, and then I just kept thinking about, like, the guys that I was putting ahead of him and the seasons that they had and what I think they're going to have. And I think the injury did play a little bit into this. I don't know, like, how many games you're going to get out of him, but regardless, like, if you guys want to for this, that's fine, because I just think he is in a class of his own. And we talk about how great Zach Martin was, but this guy is even better. Like, and it's not even close. Like, there's not, I don't think, a guard that comes close to someone like this. Just the way that they use him too, like his ability in the run game to pull, like, a guy that big shouldn't be able to just run out and blow 3 people up in one play. Like, he has the potential to do that. And his vision as well, like, doesn't take a lot of penalties, doesn't give up a lot of sacks, doesn't even give up a lot of pressures either. So I don't know really what else more you want from a guard. He just does everything. And Indianapolis got one hell of a player when he was slipping in that draft, and for good reason, because they took him high and it's paying out.
Yeah, Indy was playing chess, not checkers, man. When they traded back, right? And it said, let's go take Sam Darnold. That didn't work out well. And obviously, you're right. Nelson falls in their lap and is the best player easily in that draft, goes number 1 if you redo that draft. Sorry, Luca, to put you on the spot there. It is tough to say, hey, why'd you have him so low? And he was 11.
11. Yeah.
But that's the way it goes. This guy, we were all of us almost had him in the exact same spot. I had him 8. Jeff had him 8. Bradshaw had him 8. Luca bumped him up a bit. Luca had him 6. So Khalil Mack falls at the number 6 spot. Deservedly so. He's the best edge rusher in the NFL. If there wasn't a guy named Aaron Donald, he's probably the best defender in the NFL. But Jeff, you can gloat about him if you want. So Khalil Mack falls at 6. I'm surprised you didn't have him a little bit higher, because you love him so much. But obviously, 8-6, not much of a jump. But why is Khalil Mack so special?
Well, he's just, there's just lots of things he can do. I mean, remember, like, the first year when he came to the Bears, he was doing that one arm stiff arm all the way back to the quarterback. The way he, like, judo throwed, he judo tossed Tristan Wirfs right over his shoulder. I was like, what the hell was that? I couldn't believe I saw that. Like, Tristan Wirfs looked like he could eat Khalil Mack, and Khalil Mack's not a small person, and he just tossed him over like a child, man. That was crazy. And also, he kind of dominated him. He kind of beat him up that game. And made him look like a not very good tackle to me at that time, right? And then obviously proved me wrong. But Khalil Mack is just incredible at, like, almost everything. almost everything he does. And then literally the entire offensive line has to double or triple team him. They have to hold him. They have to do whatever they can to stop him. And I'm a biased Bears fan, but I realize Aaron Donald to me is more dominant. But man, Khalil Mack does some crazy stuff, dude. And his longevity has been insane. And I think you can see that with like what he puts himself through, similar to like Tom Brady, all the flexibility training and stuff. The guy never gets hurt. The reason why I probably would have put him higher is because when he does get to the quarterback, he creates more turnovers. More recently, he hasn't been able to get to the quarterback. He's been mostly creating pressures. And I think that's because of what we saw this past year where holding penalties just were not being called on him. And the reality is, if that continues, he becomes a less effective player just naturally, right? So I had to put him a little bit lower, unfortunately. But I hope he bounces back. I hope that he gets, a double-digit sack season like he should be getting.
Yeah, he has been consistent. I think for me, I would love to see, not against my Vikings, obviously, but I would love to see Khalil Mack when the trade happens in those first couple games. He looked like the best player in football. Like he was kicking ass. Unreal. Especially when you mentioned the game against Green Bay, where he was just unstoppable. Like I'd like to see him get back to that. And it's not like, he can't reach that. And it's not like he's far off from that right now. It's just, that was the most dominant we'd seen him. And he's still such a hell of a player. So Khalil Mack comes in at number 6. Now to the top 5. We have our top tight end at number 5. So Travis Kelce, and with good reason. What is it? 5 straight seasons of 1,000 yards. He just had 100 catches this season. Did he lead the league in catches this season? I think he did.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe he did. Yeah.
The numbers he puts up are crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes his career with multiple Super Bowls. We know the quarterback he's playing with, but also could end up with the most receptions, the most yards for a tight end. And I know it's bold, right? We got Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, all these guys. He's so good, man. Let's look at the rankings where we all had him, because I'm pretty sure, again, it was similar all the way down. I had him 7, Jeff 9, Bradshaw 6, Luca 8. So a little different, but all in that same range there. He is that damn good. But again, in that Super Bowl, it didn't have as much of an effect because that Bucs defense could hold him in check. So we'll see this time around if he'll have an effect if they make it to the Super Bowl. Number 4, this is right now the best wide receiver in football, Devonta Adams. He was high for who had him really high? I think it was Bradshaw, right?
Number 3, baby.
Yeah. So maybe I was the lowest on him. Sorry. I had Devonta Adams 10, and then you had Jeff 6, Bradshaw 3, Luca 5. The only knock that I can ever put on this guy is he has probably the most accurate quarterback to ever live, who can put, the ball in some spots that no other quarterback can. And that was the only knock I had on him. And again, it was similar to what we said, the whole entire time. It's tough to put, players in the right position. Again, he was my number 1 wide receiver. He's our number 1 wide receiver. It looked like he wasn't going to have a great year if Aaron Rodgers was going to keep holding out and get traded, but that doesn't end up being the case, which leads to number 3, which is where his buddy is. Aaron Rodgers, the reigning MVP, number 3. Pretty consistent, I think, for most of us. Bradshaw was the lowest. I had him 3, Jeff had him 3, Bradshaw 7, Luca 4. So not much of a gap there. And I'm assuming Bradshaw you wanted to squeeze other players in there. And
yeah, I mean, he's a little older as well. Like he's a little older than the guys I had ahead of him. So like, obviously he's an incredible quarterback. There's no debate. I guess Luca would debate that he is not the second best quarterback in the NFL. He might not even say he's the best. He might not even say the guy we have who I have higher than Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL. He probably has him number 1, but we'll see. He's incredible. I feel like I should be the one to speak on Aaron Rodgers, not though because we have 2 Bears fans on. We have a Bears fan, an NFC North fan, and a Vikings fan, and we have a Tom Brady fan. I feel like I should be the one to speak on Aaron Rodgers. There you go. I'm the least biased of the group here, but obviously I had him the lowest, so clearly I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Rodgers is incredible. And so is Devonta Adams. I'd like to say it's not just, he didn't just put up numbers with Aaron Rodgers, all right? He had a fantastic season with Brett Hundley as his quarterback for most of the year, all right? Let's dispel that rumor, right? Let's dispel that narrative right now that it's all Aaron Rodgers getting him his numbers. Get out of here.
Well, I still had him 10. Right?
No, I'm kidding.
All right, guys. So that leads to the top two, and I think the most obvious top two that there ever was. And I think this is
Except for Luca.
Sure.
Except for me, boys.
And I think that's probably going to be the, well, I guess we'll see. Obviously, the NFL.com or whatever, NFL Network's doing their top 100 players. I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of these guys, one or two. Do you want me to do two first or one first?
I guess two.
I think we all know what's happened. But yeah.
So, number two, only one of us had him as the number one player, which was Bradshaw.
Get the fuck out of here.
Aaron Donald is the number two player.
Y'all suck.
We had him at two. Well, except Luca. Luca had him at three.
Get out of here. He's the best player in the NFL.
So then go off, Bradshaw. Why is he better than Patrick Mahomes, who was obviously our number one player?
Well, obviously we know Patrick Mahomes is going to be a great quarterback, but I can tell you for a certainty right now, Aaron Donald is the best defensive player we have ever seen in the entire history of football. I do not want to hear a single other name. Aaron Donald is the best defensive player we have ever seen. I mean, I know I shouldn't say there's no debate. There can be a debate, but he is the best defensive player we have ever seen. And Patrick Mahomes, we can't say he's the best player at his position right now, or well, in the history of the position.
He never will be.
I think there is a strong possibility he very well could be.
No, you put that in there, Brad.
There is a strong possibility Patrick Mahomes could be the best quarterback of all time and the best player we have ever seen. But for right now, Aaron Donald is the best at his position. He is the best on his side of the ball, and he is the best on his side of the ball in the entire history of football. That is my first, second, and third argument for him. He is incredibly athletic, incredibly productive. The man gets triple teamed and still puts up incredible numbers. The impact that Aaron Donald has on defense, which is Jeff's favorite thing in the world, defense. Not that means Jeff should have number one. Obviously, Jeff sees the value. Obviously, you all see the value in Aaron Donald. I'm not saying you guys are hating on Aaron Donald, but just my case for him being number one is I think he is such an exceptional player. He is so far ahead of the pack on his side of the ball. Like there's no one even touching him as a defensive player. I don't think I had. Oh no, my other defensive players were 8 and 9, and you could argue that they probably shouldn't even be. You could argue that there were other guys better than them, and they couldn't be in the top 10. Aaron Donald is so much better than any other defensive player in the NFL right now, and that's why I have him number one.
And that's completely fine. I think that's why we still all have him in the top.
Yeah, of course.
He is, most dominant. I would agree. Probably the best we'll ever see. They double team him, triple team him. Doesn't matter. The kid's a freak. And he's so fun to watch. I'm assuming for Luca and Jeff and I, the only reason we go the other way with Patrick Mahomes is it's the most important position. Mm-hmm. And if I'm starting a franchise today and I'm drafting a player, it's probably be Mahomes 1, Donald 2. And again, the gap's so minimal, right? We've seen Mahomes at his absolute best, which is an MVP, a Super Bowl champion. And we've seen Aaron Donald at his best, which is now a 3-time defensive player of the year. Luca, no offense. Tom Brady too. A little rich to have him over Aaron Donald.
I gotta stick by my boy. I didn't put him 1 for you guys, so
Did you at one point consider having Tom Brady number 1? Was there ever a point in time where you considered having him number 1?
I did, but I'm like, I can't do this. I was like, I can't. I gotta face him. I'm so glad Nolan didn't throw to me and say, "Why did you put Mahomes 1?" Because I don't want to say anything nice about him. I just say, you know what? I'll just concede. He's the best right now. I'll leave it at that. But Brady's there, so don't worry.
It breaks his heart to say that Tom Brady is not the best quarterback in the NFL at the moment.
Okay, so I'll throw it to Jeff because this is such a what if scenario. We're gonna do the top 50 again next year. We don't know what's gonna happen this season, but let's say Aaron Donald wins his 4th defensive player of the year and Patrick Mahomes doesn't win the Super Bowl. Do you go Donald 1, Mahomes 2?
Donald would have to have a pretty great year, in my opinion, because I think Patrick Mahomes is going to win the MVP. And again, part of it is why, like, he's been right there, like every single year he's been playing a full season, right? Well, more or less a full season. I know he's been injured a few times, but the impact he has for his team is kind of insane. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, I don't, there is like, we've talked about like the home run threats, the most dangerous players, right? Like Kittle for tight ends, Hopkins could be for to an extent. And so could Tyreek Hill for receivers, etc. But like Patrick Mahomes is such a dangerous player. I've never seen anything like him on a football field. He's the most fun player to watch. Like actually for him, for Aaron Donald, for Quentin Nelson, it is like watching a video game in front of you. The things like where he's just running around, you know, where he takes that sack and it's comical in a sense, right? That he took the longest sack in NFL history. The fact that he even got back there to do that, to dare to even try that is just insane. Like the confidence and the ability that he has is just otherworldly. Like I would love to give it to Aaron Donald. And like, I'm so impressed with what Aaron Donald can do. I really am, because I feel like his game isn't just like pure athleticism either, right? Like Mahomes actually, in a sense, is more athletically talented in a lot of ways than Aaron Donald is, to be completely honest with you. Aaron Donald has a lot of skill, but man, Patrick Mahomes, I'm pretty sure he's going to win the MVP, and partly because it's a narrative thing, and they're like, oh shoot, we haven't voted for this guy for MVP in a while, so maybe we'll give him another one. I don't really care if he wins the Super Bowl or not, because Aaron Donald doesn't have to win the Super Bowl either, so I don't really care. It doesn't really matter to me. Patrick Mahomes, as long as he stays who he is and maybe improves a touch from last year, he's going to be number one. Doesn't matter to me.
Regardless, they're 1 and 2 on our list. Probably going to be 1 and 2, either, you know, flip flop on the NFL Network's list. Should be 1 and 2 in everybody's eyes. Maybe not Luca, but that's going to do it, guys. That is the top 50 players heading into the 2021 NFL season. We finally completed the list. There was some anger, some cheers. Obviously, you know, some players certainly left off the list. Some players a little too low for my liking. But that's the way the cookie crumbles, right? That's going to do it, guys. Cover 4 podcast, top 50 players. Patrick Mahomes takes the top spot. Not much of a surprise. Aaron Donald right there at 2. That's going to do it. That's Luca. That's Jeff. That's Bradshaw. We will see you guys in the coming weeks with more content, fantasy football, and of course, the preseason's, you know, already kicked off. The regular season, we got to do our, you know, preseason predictions as we get close to September and week 1. See you guys later.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Lingo Sports and Lingo News for a whole lot more just like this.